yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed. Healed up. Up. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Ooh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it. Damn. Oh, let's break it. Damn. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it. Damn. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up.
And we are live with another episode at it again of Off the Wall, powered by CGL Console Gaming League. It's your host, once again, Dazzle167. You can't get rid of me. And I'm here with a very special guest, a West Coast streamer, hit scan specialist, Caspeek. How you doing, brother?
Good, you?
I'm doing great. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things, but before we do so, let's start the way we usually start. Flex your rank a little bit to the people watching right now. What's been your peak? Where are you at right now? Tell us a little bit about your SR.
All right, so right now I am currently sitting at 44.23, and my peak is 44.48.
Okay, nice. Well, let's start with some of the general questions that we usually start on the show. Let's talk about your origin story, right? Let's give the people an idea of where you came from as far as gaming goes. So give us your origin story about what was some of the first games that you started playing and what platform specifically were you playing?
Oh, dude, there was so many things I played. I think when I was like 6 and 7, I was on the Wii playing like Bakugan or whatever it was, or like the first time I hopped on an Xbox, it was my friend Travis. He had an Xbox. His uncle gave it to him. It was the original. So we played a game called Boulder's Gates. I don't know if you know that one. And then Halo 2, and we played the campaign, and it was a blast.
Okay, nice. I mean, that sounds pretty good actually. Well, what eventually led you to Overwatch? What type? Because I mean, obviously you were playing those types of games, but was there something about Overwatch that you instantly got attracted to?
My first shooter game was Halo Reach, and then I started moving on to Call of Duty, and I played Call of Duty with my neighbors for like a really long time. We would go to each other's house, play until 4 in the morning, playing S&D on too. And I got this game Overwatch, and he was like, "Hey, dude, you should check this out." And I was so hooked. I was playing every hero, trying to learn everything so fast. It was great.
Nice. Well, then speaking of Overwatch, let's talk about what roles and characters you started playing off as. So when you loaded it up, what was your first impression of the game, and who did you start playing?
I started actually. I think the first character I ever touched was Zenyatta, and I didn't know how to play him, so I thought he was broken, and I put Discord on absolutely everybody. I just kept clicking it, and I was like, dude, I'm broken. This is nuts. It's
Nice, nice. I mean, yeah, I could totally see that. And was it something where you just played it as like obviously you played Halo before, so or was it something where you just thought, oh well, this is just me clicking heads, like you didn't care about like actually playing it as a support or anything like that?
yeah, I didn't really know about the roles. So I kind of took it as it was and had a lot of fun with it. I think it was like a 4 year break off of video games in general.
Oh, okay.
Back when I started playing Overwatch.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay. So, what specifically about the game was it that interested you? I mean, because like you took a long break from it, and there was what was it about it that you were like, oh, dude, this game, I got to play it.
Yeah, I think it was really just like playing with my friends because I used to have really trash internet. I think I played it on an 18-inch box TV, sitting on a couch, and it was just like night and day to where I am now. Like I have a monitor, I have it all set up, and it's just so much more enjoyable. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of
Nice,
it. The general.
nice. Well, I mean, that's cool. I guess like having it just looking like a good game and looking like you can definitely get into it. Well, let's talk about your setup, your stream and stuff like that. Recently you started streaming a lot. You had contacted me and several other streamers, and you actually created a little network for some of the console Overwatch players on Xbox One. Uh, but let's talk about you deciding to start streaming and what led you to it. What was the inspiration for it?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. I was throwing it around as a meme that I MNK'd in the LXS tourney, and then I got a message from Moxie in DMs, and it said, "All right, you're on the MNK list. We need a hand cam from you." And everybody knew it was a complete joke, and so I pulled like 20 views on the hand cam, and I was like, "Dude, this is fucking awesome! Like I'm getting to read chat while playing. It's like this is dope."
Okay.
So
Wow. So it's actually just like kind of like well, I guess serendipitous, like just like by mistake, you just like, oh,
yeah,
this kind of cool.
yeah,
Nice, nice. Well, you created the little stream network that I think we just have like basically like a group chat on Twitter,
yeah.
from. But I thought that was a great idea. I had something similar in mind as well. I just never kind of had it into fruition. And then when you talked to me about it, I was like, wow, this is a really good idea because we can share videos and we can share tweets and stuff with each other and promote ourselves through this network. So, what led you to come up with that idea, and why was it important for you?
I think it was just like knowing that there were so many console streamers before me, seeing Scary and seeing Loud Much and seeing Blood and seeing all these guys that I watched for a really long time, and it was just really cool to see their following, and they all have like plugs of their Discords and their Twitter and whatnot. I was like, dude, why don't I do this thing? where I kind of just keep everybody intact. We can like show each other, or we can all like at each other. We can kind of keep our own little circle, and we can like host and raid. And we can know who's online and when, and if we want to play with each other on stream. Like just a good time for everybody. I didn't really have too much of like extreme self promotion in mind. It was just kind of like, hey, we're all streamers. We all do this. Do we want to play and like co-stream, get some collabs? Like we had you were in it. We had Monopoly game night. I just asked
Yeah.
like, hey, do we want to play something stupid like Monopoly on stream? And we ended up doing it. And it was a lot of fun.
It was, and that was I was gonna get into that too, because I thought that was a great idea, and it was something where it there was a lot of content, and most of it was just kind of like personality content, really, because so many different personalities shined, and we were able to just have conversations, and it was funny. It was I love that. I thought it was hilarious. You know, there were so many great moments in that, and you know, it's definitely a really cool thing to have done. So that was definitely one family game night. Do you plan on doing more, and what other things do you plan to do with it?
Definitely want to do it again, purely because it was just a really exciting experience. To be able to play with all like my buddies or new faces and whatnot. And I want to do it with other games. Like I know we were talking about like Uno or something like that, or just talk around. But I mean, I don't know, any like story based games that could have like a large player pool. I'd be super down to play with everybody.
Nice. So that sounds awesome. Well then, let's talk about your streaming specifically now, because I feel like you started streaming and you get quite a few viewership and stuff like that. But tell me, what's the goal with streaming? Because I know that a lot of streamers, you know, they want to hit like a certain amount of like you know, they have milestones and stuff like that. What's the next step for you in streaming?
I don't really think there is a milestone, because it's definitely just like my favorite hobby. I think Overwatch is a hobby that consumes a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I play CGL. I do all these leagues, and I'm pretty obviously a higher rank, and I feel like a lot of people want to see that. Like I was recently on Fresh Nuts.
Yes.
And I streamed the other day, and I saw like 10 people, and they were like, "Hey, dude, I saw you from Fresh Nuts. Like, I'm this rank on this platform. Like, you're on Xbox and you're 4400. That's really cool."
Absolutely.
A console like me, or like, what are your thoughts on PC versus Xbox, or PC or like Xbox versus PS4? But yeah, like there's no goal in mind. It's just to educate people and have fun myself. I think it's a great way for myself to have fun. I enjoy the game a lot more when I am streaming, because I'm able to talk to my chat, and I'm able to just have somebody there.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. I can totally see that. And speaking of, we actually have a clip of that Fresh Nuts clip that you had. So let's look at that right now, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, Reaper.
Clip it. So obviously I mean, it's definitely Fresh Nuts worthy, because I feel like that's one of those things where I don't, obviously people didn't see it coming, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it was really cool that when you did it, I noticed that when you went through the car that like had like this little gap that technically if there was a line going through, it shouldn't be able to go through, but you were able to like kind of go through it, and you knocked down everybody that was there, and it was just I
thought it was hilarious that I didn't like. It would have been cool if I got 3 people with the same boot, but it was like they came back to the same spot, and I just looped around and around and around, and I got I got 3 of them.
Nice. No, it was definitely funny. Let me ask you about your streaming brand, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people may not take into account, or may take into account. So tell me a little bit about, what do you think your stream is different from any from other streams? Like, why should people watch Caspeek as opposed to somebody else who's streaming Overwatch?
It's edited. I'm on Xbox. I stream off of Xbox. It's extremely scuffed. Like, I'm still asking people in the stream network how to do timers on my Nightbot. Like, I'm totally trying to figure it out, and it's like an experience.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't take streaming seriously at all. I don't take myself seriously when I'm playing the game. I definitely think I don't have a filter, and I think people really like that. They really enjoy it, because even though they don't have game chat, they can see what like, I'll call somebody out for it, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They'll think back into it, and they'll say like, "Huh, that dude really did just do that. That was really dumb. Now you're calling him out for it." Like, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like people definitely like your reactions to things, because I feel, even in chat right now, Raccoon is saying the squeak, and
Yeah.
I think he's talking about the clip, obviously. And so, I think that some of the reactions definitely have a lot to do with that as well. So that's pretty good. Well, let's move on to a different topic, because I think a lot of this has to do with you obviously streaming now, and your role in the community. So when it was announced, when I announced it on Twitter that both you and It's a Chris, who's on the show tomorrow, were going to be on this week, there was quite a bit of backlash, more backlash than I've had from probably any other
Yeah.
players. And it's not necessarily just you, and it's not just necessarily It's a Chris, right? It's probably a little combination of both of you guys. But I feel like there are a little bit of controversy from things that you've done in the past, things that you have said, and stuff like that. So let's talk about a little bit of it, because some people were upset that I was giving a platform to players who they thought that didn't deserve it, whether it was because they didn't agree with you as a player, or that you had been toxic, or that you didn't deserve your rank, or stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about your history as a player, because I feel like a lot of people may regard you as toxic or stuff like that. Is that still the case? And have you done things differently now that you started streaming, or is it still kind of like the same?
I definitely think I'm down from what I was previously, because a lot of my friends were super toxic, and we would all like when I played with IRLs, they were all like up in everybody's ass, and it was all like a joke, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand the game, and they would always like get at me for it, and I was like, okay, like, I want to get better at it. And so that was kind of my way of like getting better at the game, know what I'm doing, and there's positive and negative to it. I've had several games thrown. Like, I had a game thrown on stream. There was a guy that was playing Reaper into, what was it, Junkrat Farah Hanzo, and he said, "I don't like your tone of voice, so I'm not going to swap." And it so, and
Yeah.
then, but yeah, like, I've definitely toned down. Still not a filter. I mean, if I see something wrong, I'm definitely going to address it, and I don't agree with people that defend their stupidity. People are like, often, like, a lot of master players. I am so hard on master players.
Sure. I mean, I can totally see that, and I've had this conversation before with other people as well, and I totally agree as well. But I think that like, it also has a lot to do with, not necessarily. I mean, I feel like that all grandmasters have that issue with masters, and I'm sure masters have that issue with diamonds and plats, and so.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the case. But like, do you think there are certain instances? But for example, when some of this came to light, I had some people contact me and was like, listen, I feel like he's toxic, right? And as a person who has met you before and has talked to you, I've never really seen that side. I've seen you in competitive ranked games where you are like not necessarily toxic, because I feel like Overwatch in general brings out toxicity in anyone. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like my wife was playing, and my wife doesn't play Overwatch, and she was like,
Um,
she was like cursing everybody out, like,
yeah,
you know, what the
yeah.
fuck are you doing? You know, so I mean, like, what's that?
It's the randomness of the people you're going to get, and you also don't know the personalities you're going to get as well. There's a lot of people that butt heads in the community because both have an ego, and it's like, whose dick is bigger? Who can prove they're more alpha?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about real quick about a specific incident, because this was brought to me, and I think it's good to like clear the air, or at least talk about it
Yeah.
and discuss about it. Some people were saying that you were speaking about, I believe the player was Nerfy and their daughter, and you were saying
Yeah.
something bad about them, and also a other player. I forgot the name. Miyara? I forgot who it, I think it was that.
Yeah.
So those are specific instances that were brought to my attention. What went on with that, and you know, how did that whole incident happen?
So basically, there were a few instances. They both just have a special place in my heart for pushing my buttons, and I just think it's great.
Okay.
So like one incident with Nerfies. Nerfies literally lives in my area. I live in San Jose, California. It's one of the highest living costs in the world, and I don't really talk to him a whole lot. But there was a game where he was just like, "Oh, dude, I fucking make this much money, and you're like, you're a virgin, and you have all this shit." And I just snapped, sister snap, bro. And and so I said, he has two daughters. He told me exactly what he makes. He works at Target for, I'll just leave it undisclosed, but not enough.
Sure.
Barely above minimum wage. I make almost as much as him, and he's 21, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got all this shit paid off, and yada yada yada." And I was like, "Dude, your kids aren't going fucking anywhere. Like, you're a bum, so are your kids. Like, you're
Okay.
not doing shit, making that much money and flexing it over the internet. Like, be a dad. Don't be playing Overwatch."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is all stuff that probably was said out of anger. Like you said, it was pushing your buttons and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah, something clicked, and I was just,
Yeah, so obviously stuff like that. I feel like based on what people have said and told me, you know, and how I see you now and watched some of your streams and stuff like that, I feel like you are a lot more tame now that you're streaming. Is this the case?
yeah, I think I definitely don't like. There's a thing where it's like in school or like just in general, like in life, like I don't understand everybody, but it's like I can't. I'm not in this competitive situation every time, and it's usually like me. And it's like if I don't understand something, I'm able to ask for help, and a lot of people are like okay with that. But people like they'll take their wrong answer, and because they have an ego or because they think they're right for whatever reason, they'll defend it, and I just can't stand it. Like I'll see a Moira on my team when I'm running triple DPS, and I'm like, "Hey, can you play Mercy?" And he's like, "No, Moira does the most healing in the game." And then I'll watch frontlining a Reinhardt damaging. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can totally see that. I feel the same way about this game, and I feel like everybody does at some point too. You know, I mean, we all have like, not necessarily just our opinions, but we all have like the idea of what should be played and how it should be played and stuff like that. But let me ask you this, because another complaint that I would get, and I think this was prevalent too in the comment on Twitter, was you self-describe yourself as one of the better DPS players in the West Coast, and a lot of people try to dispute that. What do you have to say to make your case about being, because you made some points on the comment about
yeah,
certain things. So talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about what you think your case is for being one of the better DPS West Coast players.
I think a lot of what DPS players, specifically at West Coast, they're all projectile. Look here, let me get some top 100 right now. I mean, you'll see Doomed, you'll see Anthony, you'll see all these like known figures in the West Coast. You know, kind of they all play projection, don't play hit scan other than Alvarez and a few others. And I mean, there's games where I will lose to Alvarez, and I will say it right here. But there are also other games where I just shit on that kid. Like it's just click sometimes, and it's like most people on ping, like Myrma, I can test people that cheat in the game. They have a soft aimbot and to play Widow and make it work. And it's not to like bring out an ego or like, my own horn or fucking make myself feel great. It's like you look at my performance against certain people in ranked, you'll see that I am able to hold my own, whether it's against leaders or whether it's against some of the best players that have proven themselves as the best players. I can hold my ground and I can beat them too. Like it can go that far.
Okay. I mean, I can definitely see that. And what would you say? Okay, so people were talking about top 10 West Coast players. Do you feel like you're in the top 10, or is it something more like top 20? Where do you see yourself as far as West Coast players?
If it's in DPS alone,
let's say for sake of argument, yeah, DPS alone.
For DPS alone, I could see an argument going both ways, whether I'm in it or I'm not in it.
Sure.
Overall, I definitely don't think I'm a top 10 player on West Coast, at least.
Okay.
But I do think highly regarded name. Like I've had people in my chat come back to the game and they'll say, "Yo, dude, they were talking about you in my game," and I was like, I'm a topic that people bring up, and there's no way that I'm not a top player if I'm being brought up in games that I'm not even a part of. I wouldn't know if they were talking about me unless somebody told me.
Yeah.
Like I've had my friends, they were in a game and they were having a full blown conversation about me and my fucking abilities on whatever the fuck or whatever it is. Like I'm just a brought up figure in the community, and whether you like it or not, I think that brings the title of a good player.
Sure. I mean, I definitely think that's the case as well. And I mean, chat is bringing up another point too, where they're saying that, you know, to mention as well that a lot of high players stack as well.
Yeah.
So that is another thing. Which I mean, that's a different discussion as well, because I don't know if, like, personally, I like stacking personally, but that's only because me as a support player, I have difficulty trying to depend on random DPSs, right? So for me, I rather play with people who I know their DPS is solid, right? Or their tanking is solid. But if you are the DPS, right, I think you have a better chance to succeed in a game, obviously that allows DPS. You know, in a meta that allows DPS, that you have a better chance to succeed than a support who has to depend on kills, as opposed to you, where you kind of depend on healing a little bit, but not as much as healers depend on killing, right? Yeah. So I feel like solo queuing as a DPS is definitely, you know, if you're talking about one DPS to another, that I can totally see how, you know, getting that extra bit of tanking and healing from a stack might propel you a bit, you know, more. So that's definitely a part of it. Let's also talk about this meta, because we're talking about people ranking up and stuff like that. And I feel like this meta that has just changed. I mean, we just received a new patch. People before and after the meta were saying Goats is dead. Goats will still be alive. Goats is going to be map dependent. You know, floats is going to be a thing. Or now we get a DPS meta. What is your opinion on the overall meta?
I think the meta will change in a highly competitive setting. I don't think you're going to see Goats go anywhere regarding your top 500 stacks looking for a reliant comp to run, because Goats is something that it's just prevalent. You don't need a whole lot of mechanical skill as you do all outs in leadership.
Yeah, so it's strategic based. So I mean, you could get away with being a good.
Yeah, you are not on the page as your Ryan. Like if your off tanks, your Reinhardt and your Lucio aren't on the same page, you're not going to get anything done. Goats is going to fall flat. What you do, and I mean the great players that are on console, like in the LXS tourney, you saw Goats and the bare like flat out the people that won the tournament and played Goats were the people that had the best callouts. And I watched the LXS tournament. I watched General Carnage pop off and ride. I watched Chrissy Chan get some really clutch boobs in the final map.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But you usually saw the better team, not mechanically, but with better coordination and better dive and just a better understanding for the team comp. They were usually coming out on top, even if they weren't as good on solo queue ladder or on even stacked ladder as some of the other guys that they were playing. Like I had, who was it? I had Ricky shoe in on Ryan against units in a scrim, and this was our first scrim, and we won. We beat units, and they were one of the people that was like highly regarded. They were top 4. I mean, they were going far.
Yeah.
And we beat them in a scrim because we had better coordination. I mean, we came into the party usually after the game of units, and you could just hear them all screaming at each other. Like they were fucking angry. I mean, they were just like at each other.
Sure.
So, yeah, I definitely think Goats requires a lot of leadership and a lot of communication and not a whole lot of mechanical skill.
Yeah, and I think that that's the case for a lot of teams. You know, I think that even, you know, when I was interviewing Nips and we were talking about the CGL and we talked about the Throne, how, you know, the Throne came in as a team that was kind of stacked for all intents and purposes. And, you know, now we see, you know, quite a few weeks into the league, and they're not at the top of their leaderboard. In fact, they're probably middle of the pack.
They're bottom, yeah. I saw both them and Banditos, which is the West Coast team. They have Carnage and Alvarez and all those guys. They actually forfeited a few of their matches. Like we were supposed to play one of them, and they it was Super Bowl weekend, and they didn't show.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like that's the thing too, is that it's part of it, right? You have these teams who are, you know, have a lot of name recognition and stuff like that, but they're not necessarily just automatic winners, right? I mean, it's still a game of being able to be coordinated and stuff like that, so people can steal wins. I mean, it's the same. If it's the same in Overwatch League, it should be the same in every other tier, right? There's no unbeatable team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so, but let me talk to you about specific meta changes because you are a hit scan player, and we saw a lot of changes in McCree. We saw some changes on Soldier, and so do you think that these changes for these heroes are and then also some of the nerfs for the other tanks and supports? Do you think that will allow this meta to kind of, at least in ranked, will at least give a way to, you know, that sort of DPS carry that we used to have?
I think you're already, like, people are tired of Goats. People do not want to run Goats. Any game that they have that it's not being, like, forced onto them, they're going to run DPS. You're going to see a DPS player in your lobby. And this is just another answer on the ladder to say, hey, I don't want to run Goats. Like, this DPS is better. It doesn't even matter if it's true or not. It's just they got a buff and the people want to see it like that. And that's how you're going to now. You're going to see it with a lot more 2-2 than 3-3.
So let me ask you this, Soldier specifically. We've seen a lot of, as soon as the patch came out, we saw people like Defran and AKM all start playing Soldier a lot more, and they were a lot more interested in ranked and playing some of these characters. What is your opinion on Soldier in this meta right now?
I think MNK is a lot more scary. I've preached it for a long time. I don't think MNK is an instant win. I've never thought instant wins came from MNK, but I don't think MNKs are played correctly, whether that's on Widow and Hanzo and Snipers is where most people are playing it. But it's those tracking heroes like Tracer, Soldier, and all those guys where it's like if you're hitting headshots, you are hard carrying your team very easily. I mean, Segoy, whether you like him or not, he counts in top 10. I can't really speak on him. I haven't seen him a whole lot, but I mean, he's a Sombra player, and it's just like it's night and day between hitting your shots and solo carrying a game because you're able to be so much more involved in team fights with Sombra or Tracer or Soldier, whoever it may be. There was a game last night on my stream where I was against Ipsis, and Ipsis, I was on Lucio, and I was getting trapped, man. Like, I couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I had similar games yesterday where I actually had Segoy on my team alongside U23U, and we went up against General Carnage and Hopes, and so that it was our tanks were not creating as much space as we could, and so it was all on the DPS, and the DPS did a good job, but it was unfortunate because our tanks they just died instantly. So a lot of my progression had a lot to do with not being able to move into line of sights because their hit scans would hit me a lot. So do you think now is definitely the time for characters like McCree, because McCree got also a really good buff as well, especially with his ultimate and stuff like that. Do you think now McCree is one of those characters that is probably like a must play because his buff seems bigger than Soldier's? So do you think he's more viable now?
They're both more viable. I wouldn't say any DPS is a must pick.
Okay.
I think in my honest opinion, Sombra and Hanzo are the best right now, purely because they're so fluid in team comps and they can really be wherever you want them to be. You can run Sombra and Goats pretty easily. You sub out a D.Va for a Sombra and you're in really good shape. If you're looking for a damage dealer, you're looking at Hanzo because he's a lot more reliant than Widow. So those are my top two for DPS, but I don't feel like I feel like most DPS right now are in a solid state. They're all playable and they're all workable. And I think that's a key thing. I think Overwatch is moving in a positive direction right now in terms of where DPS are. They're all equally valued. There's not really like one extremely useless hero except for maybe Tracer.
Okay. And I mean, maybe what about Genji? I feel like Genji's might be one of those characters that is not in a great place right now.
Yeah, it's like Genji Mei, or not Genji Mei. It's Genji, Tracer, Doomfist, and like, to be completely honest, like Pharah. They're just not very prevalent. And I think Pharah, because Junkrat just got a buff. I mean, Junkrat is huge now. You're going to see people like trap block in your backline, and you're going to be like, what the fuck, dude? This dude does so much more damage than he used to.
Yeah.
This animal. Whereas, like, if you look at a Pharah, you can say, okay, I can play hit scan. If I'm a good hit scan, I can take her out. Like, no sweat. And I don't know about you, but I don't typically see a lot of Pharahs in my game, and I think that's because people know me for playing hit scan.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't see Pharah being picked that much, at least in my games. But I have seen a lot of Soldier, and I've seen a lot of McCree, so I can definitely see that being the case. So what do you think is going to be meta now? Because I feel like, yes, some DPS did get buffed. Goats got nerfed a little bit. What do you think is going to be the meta now?
I think
whether it's ranked or scrims, like either or.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Goats still in scrims, but I think you're going to see a lot more fluidity between different comps. I definitely think something that's going to be prevalent in ranked is going to be triple DPS once people start to figure out, like, okay, this is workable, this is doable. But yeah, definitely Goats is still going to stay the standard. It's like your tried and true faithful. If you're shit and you can't mechanically keep up with the other team, go Goats forehead. You win, GG, easy.
Yeah. And I feel that's also a big thing too, is that before Goats was sort of like the go-to comp. If you couldn't, if you were losing, or if you couldn't do it, it's like, let's just go Goats, because it's And I don't know if that had to do more with the fact that it was just the best comp in the game, or because, like you said, it was mechanically less demanding and it had more to do with just doing call outs and stuff like that. So I'm not sure where that line is between that, but I do feel like it was definitely something that people chose as a default because they were like, well, I mean, we need this to do, to win. But so you don't think that's the case now anymore? You don't think that people can just switch to goats and kind of like balance it out?
Not at all. There was a case on not much of stream. I'm stacking at fucking, I don't know, 11 o'clock a few nights ago. And he was he was 3 stacking with like Alvarez and Aria, 2 really good players, and they were running goats, and I was just Dim Bastion Cheese Gaia. And it was, I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it was like I watched back on the VOD, they were tilted.
Yeah.
It was,
Nice.
there's a lot of ways to counter goats, and there's a reason why I feel like the East Coast Circus is really good. It's because they play those off-meta heroes, and it's really uncomfortable to play against. It's really unfamiliar to every community, and I think that's why they're as high as they are, being a bunch of one tricks that stack together.
Sure. Well, I mean, they're also like specialists who are not just one tricks, but they're really good one tricks at their specific heroes. I mean, even if you get like, a Junkrat, a Symmetra, a Roadhog, people who are off meta, but they're really good at those heroes, then it does offset the fact that those heroes aren't meta, because they're probably the best people in that position. So for sure, I can totally see that. Well, listen, I think that's pretty much it. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if chat has any questions. Feel free to ask them right now. But usually at the end of the show, we like to raid people. We're going to be doing that here shortly. Before we do that, I want to mention, because this was also part of the discussion yesterday on Twitter, somebody had mentioned in the Twitter is like, oh, you picked Caspeek, you must be running out of guests. And so, I want everybody to understand that, like I mentioned before, and I usually mention at the end of every show, this is a community podcast. This is a podcast for the community of Overwatch, Xbox One. Obviously I'll have PS4 players as well, but this is a community podcast. I want people to be involved in the community. Caspeek played with me. He reached out to me. He wanted to be, he was talking about, hey, listen, we should get an interview. And I thought it was a great idea. So we put it together. And it's like that for everything. If you have an idea, if you want to say something, if you want to get on the show, let me know. Talk to me and I'll be able to get you on. But like, if I put somebody on the show and somebody says in a comment, hey, why don't you put this person? It's like, well, because I either don't know that person or the person hasn't contacted me. So it's really that simple. So keep in touch. Let me know. And then we'll definitely have that discussion. Okay, so we do have a question in chat. One of the questions says, how's your CGL team, Caspeek? How are you guys doing in CGL?
There's a lot of things that I can give brief descriptions on. I think we're doing pretty good. We're looking for some players. We're dropping a lot of our roster. Lot of them.
Let the people know, what team do you represent in the CGL?
I play for the Pink Sox right now.
Okay.
And there's some low-key behind-the-scenes stuff going on, so you might see some rebranding, and you might see sponsors our way.
Okay. Nice.
Right now, we're Sox. We are. I think we're 4-2, 4-1, something like that.
Okay. No, that's a good record.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good record. Shout outs to Yukio too. I've known her for a bit too, and she's one of the quietest person that I've met so far. So, but shout outs to Yukio. Really good friend of the stream. She always passes by when she can, and she's an awesome person as well. So awesome. That's good to hear. Well, Caspeek, let some of the people know where can they catch your streams. How can they know when you're streaming next? Give them your social media and some of your Twitch.
Twitch is just my gamer tag. It's twitch.tv/Caspeek, and you can find my Twitter at twitter.com/CaspeekGR. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I media.
Okay, sounds good. Well, listen, we usually at the end of the show like to raid specific people. I'm going to raid my buddy Octotroph, friend of the show, was a former guest, very cool person, very cool EU, very funny. So you guys will definitely have fun with that. I'm gonna raid in a bit right now, and then make sure that if you see him on there, just let him know, hey, I'm coming from Off the Wall, and say hi to him and tell him that we said hi as well. Guys, as always, thank you, Caspeek, for joining. I really appreciate it. Always good to have you. No problem. And then, guys, check out It's a Chris tomorrow. We're going to be talking to her, first female on Off the Wall. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then we will catch you then. All right, everybody. See ya.
All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed up. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. That. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that?